Bonjour à vous. Peut-être la première question que j'aurais le goût de poser, the first question I would like to ask is, what have you noticed during this pandemic in regards to humans and biodiversity, and maybe has surprised you or inspired you or given you hope? And I would like to start with you, Vandana Shiva, if possible.
You know, the rivers flowing clean, the skies becoming blue, we're seeing the Himalaya from 200 miles, elephants coming back to the streets, and panthers and tigers roaming free. It didn't surprise me because that's the childhood I grew up in. And it confirmed my belief that nature has resilience and can bounce back very fast.
Yes.
And what comes in the way is our continuing to pollute and making excuses for continuing the pollution. Otherwise, why has it taken the climate treaty 3 decades to not clean up the skies and remove the greenhouse gases? Why was the biodiversity not brought back in spite of negotiations? And the other thing that confirmed everything to me is people were just so happy seeing our relatives on the streets and in their neighborhoods. Human beings want to live with other beings, and this confirmed this.
So the connection and the bouncing back, the nature bouncing back there that you've noticed. Petit Matthieu Ricard, vous, qu'est-ce que vous avez remarqué?
Oui, d'une part, la grande souffrance en Inde où j'étais, où il y avait des centaines de milliers de personnes qui étaient travailleurs journaliers, qui devaient partir à pied, rentrer dans leur village, et aussi le fait que la nature respirait, comme le disait Vandana, et que quand la nature respire, très vite, elle reprend le dessus. Et aussi, ce qui m'a frappé, c'est que les dirigeants étaient capables de grande détermination, de prendre des mesures draconiennes et la population de suivre. Et on se dit, si seulement ils pouvaient prendre ne serait-ce qu'un dixième de cette détermination pour s'occuper précisément de protéger l'environnement, prévenir le changement climatique et la perte de la biodiversité, on aurait sans doute une chance.
Merci. How about you, Stanley? Asah, what have you noticed?
I've noticed, well, it's sort of just adding up to what Vandana and Matthieu said, but I've noticed that we can make a difference in addition to what has been said. In other words, that if it takes the right motivations for us to do something, and COVID has initiated some things for us that all we have to do now is make sure that we continue to work with those and move forward. I've also noticed that people are more curious. Even those who could not sense the connection with nature has become initiated to begin to sense that connection. They are starting to understand people who grew up in urban settings and had a very distant connection with nature, that connection with nature has been made a little closer. So it has aroused the curiosity of even the most distant connected person to ask questions about, what is nature like? How do I connect to it? So there's an increase in the awareness of our connection with nature. And like Vandana was saying, there is, because of that awareness, it seems like we're appreciating nature more. So I've noticed that we do have a strong baseline set of motivations to continue to make things differently.
Very good.
To do things differently.
Et Anne-Sophie, tu rajouterais quoi?
Oui, mais je suis d'accord absolument avec mes collègues panélistes. En fait, moi, ça m'a fait réfléchir aussi au fait qu'on parle peu des racines de cette pandémie-là, de la crise, qui est directement liée à notre façon, à notre rapport à la nature sauvage, à la façon dont on habite le territoire aussi, qu'on la détruit, on se développe de plus en plus, les villes se développent de plus en plus. Et là, il y a des questions, je crois, fondamentales à poser par rapport à notre rapport à cette nature-là, qui est vraiment, la crise est vraiment enracinée dans notre rapport à la nature. Ça, c'est un côté un petit peu plus négatif, ou du moins, je crois que cette question-là devrait être mise davantage de l'avant. Puis sinon, effectivement, ben, c'est la beauté de tout ça, c'est la lenteur imposée par la crise, le ralentissement fait en sorte qu'on porte attention, on est plus ouvert cognitivement aussi et notre cœur aussi, effectivement, et on est plus ouvert, mais on porte attention aux petites choses anodines de la vie finalement. Puis je remarque le besoin nature, il est tout le temps là, le besoin nature.
Parfait.
La nature nous fait du bien, c'est démontré, mais là, le besoin nature est devenu très saillant.
Oui.
Très saillant.
And maybe my next questions would be to our social psychologists in the virtual room, Stanley and Anne-Sophie. I know that you are passionate about trying to understand what motivates people in regards to biodiversity and environmental protection. And maybe Stanley, I would start with you. What have we learned in the last few years about what will make people care and act in favor of nature?
Well, if you just look at the pandemic is, in as much as it's connected to the environment, the pandemic is more of a health problem.
Of a heart problem?
Health, our wellness.
Health problem, yes.
It's a health problem.
Yes, it's a health problem.
That has motivated us to lock ourselves in buildings and create space for biodiversity to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
That is, the motivation is not environmental. The motivation is our personal health that has caused us to create space for biodiversity. That is very typical with most pro-environmental initiatives. They are not motivated by the environment. They are motivated by the desire to feel healthy, the desire to have social interactions, the desires to protect and enhance our ego, the desire to feel good about ourselves, the desire to have identities, to belong. So many of the environmental behaviors that we engage in are not motivated by the environment. And this is very contrary to what most of us who promote environmental things.
I would imagine a lot of people listening are a bit surprised by that.
Yes.
so I think
well, my work have shown that it is the environment matters, but it doesn't matter as much. We could sing the global change is going to kill us, where the waters are going to rise, the temperature is going to rise, and people will still drive their cars. But if you tell them they're going to get COVID from the environment, they will stay home. If you tell them they're going to lose their identity, they would stay home. We should focus on the real issues that are pertinent to us and show how the environment contributes to that versus doing things for the environment.
So that first link to identity, and I would like to go to Anne-Sophie Gousse-Lessard here. So Anne-Sophie, toi aussi, je m'excuse, je tutoie, vous, c'est votre sujet de recherche principal, les déterminants de la motivation, tout ça. Alors, est-ce que vous voulez ajouter sur ce que Stanley T vient de mentionner?
Oui, mais oui, it's very interesting. Il y a plusieurs choses. En fait, on est plein, je pourrais parler de la motivation vraiment très longtemps. On est plein de barrières, de mécanismes de défense. Même quand on a l'intention d'agir pour l'environnement, des fois, les comportements ne suivent pas nécessairement l'intention. Ce que je retiens un petit peu aussi, c'est finalement, on a des besoins fondamentaux et quand ces besoins fondamentaux-là sont comblés par l'action pro-environnementale, on en vient à développer une motivation qui est plus autodéterminée, qui est de plus grande qualité. Donc, quand nos comportements viennent remplir nos besoins de compétences, d'autonomie et d'affiliation sociale aussi, donc le need to belong, l'attachement social aussi, bien, ça motive ça à agir de façon pro-environnementale, effectivement.
Concrètement, ça se traduit comment, ça? Comment on pourrait nourrir la compétence, l'autonomie, puis ce lien de connexion en lien avec l'environnement pour que ça fasse une différence?
Oui, bien, pour soutenir l'autonomie, bien, il faut laisser des choix, donc ne pas nécessairement contraindre les gens, quoique, bon, on pourrait d'en discuter longtemps, mais bon, offrir des choix, donner des outils aussi pour accompagner les gens, parce que des fois, c'est un sentiment d'impuissance où je ne sais pas comment faire, un manque de contrôle perçu. Alors, on peut accompagner les gens là-dedans, puis parler de faire des comportements de plus collectifs, entrer en liaison, en relation avec les autres pour s'engager au-delà de la maison, finalement, pour avoir atteint ce sentiment de groupe-là. Mais il y a aussi des études qui montrent que la connexion à la nature, nature relatedness, est vraiment, peut aussi être un moteur pour sensibiliser, puis pour devenir en fait un éco-citoyen épanoui aussi. Puis on le voit aussi chez les enfants, en fait. De ne pas passer par une représentation problème. Tu sais, on parle souvent de la nature, de l'environnement comme un des problèmes à régler. Mais des fois, en fait, c'est important aussi de parler d'un rapport positif à la nature, d'une connexion, de passer par l'émerveillement, par l'attachement, par la découverte, de mettre les deux mains dans la terre pour vraiment ressentir le fait qu'on fait partie de quelque chose de plus grand que nous-mêmes et que la nature fait partie de nous aussi. Là, on parle de environmental identity. Oui, voilà.
Super. Puis justement, je ferai du pouce parce que, Matthieu Ricard, vous avez publié un recueil de photos sur l'émerveillement, justement. Et je pense que Anne-Sophie vient justement d'en parler. En quoi ça peut être essentiel? Puis quelle réaction vous avez eue aussi à ce livre-là, par ailleurs?
Ben, exactement, l'émerveillement, peut-être wonderment en anglais, c'est peut-être le mot le plus juste.
Wonderment, yeah.
C'est très intéressant l'émerveillement parce que d'abord des psychologistes ont étudié ça, ont fait des études. Ils montrent qu'on perd un peu le sens de l'identité très fragmentée, hein, le sens de l'ego devient plus faible. On a un sentiment d'appartenance beaucoup plus vaste à quelque chose qui nous dépasse. Et donc, le sentiment de l'interdépendance de tout le vivant, l'interdépendance avec la nature. Il y a même une étude qui montre que quand on est dans un sentiment d'émerveillement, on devient plus altruiste. Alors moi, j'ai été ravi. Et il y a plusieurs choses avec l'émerveillement qui est vraiment excellent. C'est que l'émerveillement, donc, si vous voulez, quand vous êtes émerveillé, notamment par la part sauvage du monde ou par les êtres, vous allez respecter ce qui vous émerveille. Vous n'allez pas saccager ce devant quoi vous êtes en émerveillement. Donc, le respect mène au désir de prendre soin. Et le désir de prendre soin va mener à l'action. Donc, c'est un biais très constructif pour motiver. Et la motivation, on le sait, vous l'avez souligné, est bien difficile. Et lorsque je préparais ce livre de photos sur un peu les 5 continents, j'avais été inspiré aussi par une campagne des écologistes allemands qui, au lieu de rajouter de tous les chiffres qui sont vraiment déprimants et pour la population qui se sent effectivement souvent impuissante, avait mis dans la ville des grandes affiches de lieux de nature extrêmement inspirants. Et ça avait eu un écho très fort. Et quand on sait que beaucoup d'enfants ont grandi dans les villes, qu'il y a des études épidémiologiques qui ont montré, notamment dans le Lancet, que les enfants qui ont grandi exclusivement dans les villes ont une chance accrue de 15 à 20% de souffrir plus tard de schizophrénie, de dépression. On voit à quel point la privation de la nature est importante. Alors, pour rebondir aussi rapidement sur ce que Stanley et Anne-Sophie ont dit, le problème avec le futur un peu plus à long terme, le Covid, c'est à notre porte, ça nous fait peur, on s'isole. Mais le futur ne fait pas mal, du moins pas encore. Et l'évolution nous a équipés pour réagir émotionnellement à des dangers immédiats. Si on vous dit la maison va prendre feu, tout le monde s'en va. Si on dit dans 30 ans, on dira bon, on verra bien. Hein. Donc c'est ça le problème. Donc là, il faut quelque chose de cognitif, de plus puissant. Il faut être inspiré. Et il me semble que la bienveillance, l'altruisme, la considération d'autrui est le seul et unique concept qui peut relier les préoccupations à court terme de la justice sociale, les préoccupations à moyen terme de s'épanouir dans l'existence et les préoccupations à long terme de prendre soin des générations à venir et des 8 millions d'espèces qui sont nos concitoyens en ce monde. Donc, vous voyez, l'émerveillement se lie à l'altruisme. L'altruisme est le seul concept pragmatique qui permet de relier ces échelles de temps et de faire s'asseoir à la même table des spécialistes de l'environnement, des décideurs, des travailleurs sociaux, etc., etc., pour construire ensemble un monde meilleur. Donc, on commence à voir quelque chose qui peut finalement venir ensemble et permettre quelque chose d'assez puissant.
Parfait, merci. Vandana Shiva, now I would like to turn to you. I know your foundation and yourself has been involved in many projects, ongoing, and many more in the works as well. Could you share a few of these projects that you feel have awoken or unlocked this human potential in favor of biodiversity and maybe inspire some of the people who are listening?
My own human potential for biodiversity was woken up because of a meeting on future biotechnologies in 1987 in Geneva and Beaugé, where the old chemical companies were saying, now we'll do genetic engineering to own the seed, have patents, and have an international law to force every country to have patents on seed and make it illegal for farmers to save seeds. And I had worked on biodiversity of forests with Chipko movement. I said, but you don't invent the seed. It's not a machine. It's evolution in continuity. It has nature's brilliance and creativity, and it has the brilliance of our farmers. So I decided to start saving seeds. And that's how we've created 150 community seed banks in India. We worked on laws, including the Convention on Biological Diversity. I gave my all to the shaping of that convention in those days when it was being negotiated. Article 3 on sovereignty, 8J, indigenous knowledge, Article 19.3, that we must assess the impact of biotechnologies on biodiversity. But I used to just call this movement a seed-saving movement. And I was doing a collection in a very remote tribal village. And this farmer had 9 crops. I had studied the Green Revolution with monocultures. And I counted the 9 crops. And in amazement I said, you're growing 9 crops. And he looked at me in disdain, as if I didn't know why, and said, yes, it's Nabanya. And I said, it seems to be significant, and I'm so sorry, I don't know. And here was an illiterate tribal who explained to me in the most beautiful ways that the planets and their balance, the 9 crops in the field, and our health balance is one continuum of harmony. And conserving biodiversity is a duty to protect this harmony. So we've grown gardens of hope. And during this COVID lockdown, been getting calls from our Navdanya members saying, if we hadn't had the gardens, we'd have had no food. And because in biodiversity is cultural diversity, is the memory of our communities, our ancestors. We also, to make sure that we don't have erosion of biodiversity, but that erosion will be prevented when people love it, respect it, care for it, know its value. So we have grandmothers' universities to keep transmitting to younger generations how important biodiversity is for the earth, for society, for our health.
Well, there's a few seeds. If anybody was looking for inspiration, I think we have a few ideas to get us going. Maybe as the next question, and it's on another angle, is the importance of storytelling and public narratives that we're telling about biodiversity and nature and our role in it. My question would be to Matthieu Ricard. Pour accélérer et transformer, pour accélérer les transformations requises, je sais que dans une conversation que nous avons eue ensemble, vous parlez de l'importance des histoires qu'on raconte dans les changements sociaux. Pouvez-vous me donner quelques exemples?
Oui, c'est très important. J'ai un grand ami qui est un grand spécialiste de l'environnement qui s'appelle Johan Rockstrom et il me disait on n'a pas réussi à communiquer correctement. Et je me suis rappelé que dans des communautés en Afrique, au Mexique, au lieu d'essayer de forcer les gens à cesser de faire l'excision des femmes ou de combattre la violence contre les femmes, ils avaient fait des séries que les gens, les soap opéras, que les gens aiment beaucoup regarder à la télévision, sur ce sujet-là, en Afrique, sur l'excision des femmes, au Mexique, sur la violence conjugale, et des séries qui étaient extrêmement suivies, et où chacun jouait son rôle, y compris ceux qui subissent ces problèmes. Et ça avait beaucoup plus d'impact parce que les gens s'identifiaient, d'abord c'était mainstream, comme on peut dire, et donc c'était beaucoup mieux que des leçons de personnes qui viennent, il faut pas faire ci, il faut pas faire ça, ou même la législation qui va à l'encontre des coutumes. Et ça permettait de parler ouvertement de tout cela et que toute la famille a regardé. Et ça rejoint aussi le fait que quand les romans ont commencé à être imprimés au 18-19e siècle, La cage de l'oncle Tom, les romans ont créé une sorte d'empathie pour des caractères qui avaient souffert de l'esclavage, de ceci, de cela, et les gens se sont identifiés, sont mis à la place de ces personnes, et de ce fait, ça a eu un grand impact. Donc tout cela, ça permet de toucher les gens peut-être de façon beaucoup plus directe, mais des gens simples qui autrement seraient plus réticents pour aller vers le changement.
Super. Et puis, il y a une réaction justement de la salle parce qu'il y a des artistes qui nous écoutent aujourd'hui puis qui se sentent interpellés parce qu'ils ont un rôle à jouer effectivement dans cet esprit-là, dans ce que l'art et la culture peut nous amener également. Vandana Shiva, I'm talking about public narratives. And I know that, so we've talked about storytelling, but I know just helping people understand how people's health, and food and the health of the planet and biodiversity are actually all linked together. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how important that is to you?
You know, I think everything is a story, even science, because it's part of paradigms, as Thomas Kuhn has written. Every scientific discipline has a story. Within it, you do the fact finding. Within it, you do everything else. The story of the Green Revolution in industrial farming was you pump chemicals, you have higher yields, and this makes monocultures, it makes toxics, it makes the butterflies and the bees disappear. And that story had become so naturalized in the minds of the scientists and the minds of the farmers. And I realized that yield doesn't tell you anything. Yield per acre doesn't tell you the richness of the biodiversity in the soil, the richness of the biodiversity of crops, the richness of pollinators and insects, the well-being of farmers, and the well-being of the people who eat the food, because at the end of it, this nutrition isn't mentioned, and what we have in yield is a nutritionally empty, toxic food, which is why we have so much chronic disease. So when the farmers, because their potential, human potential to protect biodiversity had been crushed by this story, we would start talking to them about the health of the earth, about the health of their crops, their own health. And we started to measure with them health per acre rather than yield per acre. In the process, we find that we use the word intensive agriculture, assuming that the only thing you can intensify is toxic inputs. But that's chemical intensive farming. We created the story of biodiversity intensive farming. And our research has now shown, A, that the more biodiverse intensive a system is, the more it multiplies other levels of biodiversity. We save seeds, we grow 2,000 varieties on our farm. We have 6 times more pollinators than in the forest next door, because the biodiversity of the plants supports that. Our research is now showing that toxic monocultures are contributing to chronic diseases, because biodiversity outside is linked to the biodiversity within us, the biodiversity of the gut microbiome. And this new story of our times is the story of health. Chronic diseases are also, which come from industrial food, industrial agriculture, they're also amplifying the mortality in the case of the COVID. The data is clear. Yep. Most places it's 1.5 or 1% mortality. But if you have diabetes, which is a metabolic disease because of food, you have a 9.2% mortality.
Right.
If you have, our government has accepted that 80% deaths are because of coexisting morbidity. But in physics, I did my quantum theory, we work on systems. We work on systems causality. And that's why that story of health has to go with the story of systems understanding and interconnection. And same system of industrial farming is so inefficient because we measure yield, we don't see what it goes for. Does it go for biofuel, animal feed? Invasion into forests then has created new epidemic diseases. Right. The MERS, the Ebolas, the SARS, the HIVs, and COVID is one of them. So whether it's epidemic diseases, infectious diseases, or it's chronic diseases, in biodiversity is the solution to our health. And the health of the planet and our health is not separate. That's why I talk about one planet, one health.
One planet, one health. We'll remember that. Thank you. Another story, and we've talked about that link there, and we've talked about agriculture and food. And Stanley, I'd like to turn to you now. I know I've heard you talk about cities and about, one of the narratives that we hear is that growth for cities is the objective to vie for, that's healthy cities or big cities. And I know that I've heard you say that could actually be counterproductive and to biodiversity, and that we need more. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that entails and what your ideas are on that?
One of the things that are exciting us in big cities with the pandemic is that we could see a fox. People in small villages see foxes every day. Mm-hmm. It's not news to them. It's not a source of an excitement to them that they saw a fox. Mm-hmm. Because it's something, biodiversity is amidst them because it's small. Mm-hmm. The cities are small, or it's a small village. But I want to say something about health that is related to what Vandana just said. And tying it to science, as even science being a story, and artists are better storytellers than scientists. Mm-hmm. But we don't give them the space to blend arts and science to tell the story for biodiversity and nature conservation. So I'll look at COVID. One of the reasons why Germany had such a small, relatively less lethal effect of COVID on that country is because most of the sizes of cities in Germany are smaller. So small cities breed more biodiversity and therefore also have health implications. Mm-hmm. You're healthier when you live in, as Vandana is saying, these chronic diseases like diabetes that we have are very much related to this bigness in cities. The idea that science is, or that everything is a story, and linking back to the University of Grandmothers, but which the essence of that is the intergenerational transfer of cultural transfer of knowledge about biodiversity and nature. Mm-hmm. It happens because you have a strong sense of community. Mm-hmm. When you become the bigger the city is, the smaller the sense of community becomes. You live in a building with 200 other people and you barely know 5 people. Mm-hmm. You live in a small city with 20 people and you know everybody. Mm-hmm. So the smaller the city is, the more opportunities you have for the transfer, whether through stories, through arts, whatever it is, the easier it is and the more effective it is for you to transfer local or traditional ecological knowledge. Mm-hmm. So big cities are not solutions to biodiversity unless they are developed in a way that creates ecological spaces around them. So I don't know how that would happen, but yes, big cities are counterproductive to biodiversity and to our health. All
right. Another area I'd like to delve into, and I would call Vandana Shiva out on this, is I've heard you say that for biodiversity health, we need to watch out for the margins. We need to look at what's happening in the margins socially, and why is that? I'm curious. I would like for you to share what you mean by that and why is it so important. And especially, I think it's a topic that a lot of us have been talking about in the last week.
It's very interesting that while the negotiations on the Convention on Biological Diversity were going on and the Biosafety Protocol were going on, initially, there were men and women scientists. And there was a certain point when the men weren't there. And we looked around and we were about 6 women and we said, what happened to the men? And we laughed amongst ourselves and said, it's because we are on the margins that we could afford to continue to say what we knew was the true science, because pressure had been brought from inside the center to those who were inside. So being on the margins can sometimes give you the freedom to adapt and evolve and respond to the changing conditions. And that's the day, as we witnessed, we were all women scientists left. We called ourselves Diverse Women for Diversity. Mm-hmm. And because there's so much patriarchal drive for masculinist monocultures, we said, no, we will celebrate diversity, our cultural diversity, our biological diversity. And in terms of cultural diversity, you know, we've had 500 years of colonization, which constantly pushed indigenous people to the edge. And even today in the Amazon, you know, with the burning. And yet I just got a letter from them wanting support. They, on the margins, are still speaking for biodiversity and Mother Earth and the forests. From the margins, they know, because they're not at the center of the civilizing mission of destroying the last forest and cutting the last tree and making the last butterfly and bee disappear. They are on the margins and they know the meaning of being part of biodiversity, having a worldview of biodiversity, and the indigenous people, their worldviews, their voices will be vital for we won't have a world if it's not a world of biodiversity. And to ensure that human potential is cultivated more, we will need the guidance and leadership of women and indigenous people.
Just kind of want to have that settled. Thank you. I think, can
I add something to
yes, please do.
the notion
please.
of, I don't want to come across as if I'm against cities. What I'm trying to communicate here is that when you bring nature into cities, it reduces the apparent size of the city. Cities become smaller when they're immersed with nature.
Yes.
And when cities become smaller, you create a stronger sense of community, and then you can build a better sense of collective action. So it is important. So the idea that cities, we need smart growth that is small but still big. Because when you bring nature into cities, they become smaller. If you live in a big city and all you see around you are trees, you don't get the impression of how big the city is. So,
Judy, could I say one thing on that? Just one little thing. It's not a law of nature that people should keep moving to cities. This metabolic rift between the country and the city has been designed to create more and more consumers and fewer producers who co-create with biodiversity. Otherwise, how could you have the oldest city of the world, Banaras on the Ganga, the same tiny size over thousands of years? Only cancer cells don't know when to stop growing. And a few policies that drive more people off the land to the city is part of the problem. And I think COVID should teach us how we can make policies for people to return to the land and take care of biodiversity.
Very interesting. I think the next topic I want to address with you in the time we have left is, we all know that anxiety, be it eco-anxiety, fear induced by the pandemic, or this impression that this is too big for us to all handle, it triggers in humans a tendency to either close down or to want to feel better. So we notice paralysis, denial, resistance, power struggles with our politicians as well. Sometimes that happens. Escape behaviors, shopping, Netflix binges, things that aren't all that important. Any advice on how to better deal with this in others, but also in ourselves? And maybe I would like to start, Anne-Sophie Gousse-Lessard, est-ce que tu peux nous parler un petit peu comment faire face à cette éco-anxiété-là qui est quand même présente et qui nous amène à des comportements plus de déni ou de fuite, et comment combattre ça?
Oui, c'est une vraie problématique. En fait, ce que j'aimerais dire en amont, c'est que l'anxiété, l'éco-anxiété est normale. C'est normal de se sentir préoccupé, de se sentir, worried. On est bombardé d'informations sur la crise climatique, sur les problèmes au niveau, ça va mal, etc. C'est normal. Les gens qui ne sont pas anxieux par rapport à leur futur en ce moment, c'est eux que je trouve un petit peu bizarre, il faut dire. Le manque d'intérêt, ça, c'est un problème en soi. Ensuite, c'est certain que l'anxiété peut devenir pathologique quand on ressent un dysfonctionnement, en fait. Quand tout devient filtré via notre anxiété, on a de la misère à entrer en relation avec les autres, ça nuit à différentes sphères de notre vie, les loisirs, nos relations avec la famille, les études, le travail, etc. Et là, il peut y avoir des crises de panique, des pensées intrusives, etc. Là, ça, c'est un problème qui tombe un peu au niveau de la santé mentale. Mais
un vertige normal, par contre, comme tu dis, qui est normal. Alors, comment on l'aborde, ça, pour pas que ça nous amène ailleurs?
Mais justement, donc, c'est pas tant la présence d'anxiété ou pas, mais c'est qu'est-ce qu'on fait avec. Puis, qu'est-ce qu'on peut voir, c'est qu'il y a différents mécanismes de régulation de cette anxiété-là. Hein. C'est le coping mechanism. Donc, on peut appliquer différentes stratégies pour essayer de vivre avec ou de transformer cette anxiété-là en quelque chose de porteur. Et qu'est-ce qu'on voit? C'est les gestes collectifs, l'engagement social dans l'espace public, quand on interagit, le lien avec les autres fait en sorte que, en fait, c'est créateur de sens. Donc, de faire des actions qui... bon, il y en a qui vont trouver du sens en faisant des actions individuelles à la maison, en changeant leur habitude à la maison, et c'est très bien, mais très vite, on s'aperçoit que ces personnes-là voient certaines limites à l'action individuelle, alors que l'action collective, l'engagement dans la communauté, parler à nos voisins, rentrer en relation avec les autres, amène beaucoup de sens et ça donne un meaning in life. Donc, ça amène une satisfaction de vie, on a des nouveaux objectifs et on ressent une espèce de sentiment de compétence collective ou collective aussi quand on s'implique comme ça, puis ça diminue beaucoup l'anxiété parce que, encore une fois, le salut est dans nos relations sociales, hein, on en parle depuis le début. C'est de créer des liens, en fait, qui aident.
Ce que j'entends, c'est de normaliser en quelque part ce vertige-là qui ne va pas disparaître et d'avancer ensemble dans ce vertige malgré, au lieu d'être dans la fuite, pour se donner un peu de courage, j'imagine, et des outils pour bien avancer dans tout ça. Maybe I would go to Stanley Asah. How about you? In terms of how do we, our politicians, or people who seem to be so against these policies or these noble actions, what would you recommend? How should we respond to that?
It's funny that we're saying that politicians are against.
Not all of them, of course.
Yes, but that is the observation here is that we're giving agency and responsibility to people that takes agency and responsibility from us. Every politician represents the population. No politicians wants to do something that they think the electoral basis don't want, because then they would not be elected.
Right.
So if we make it obvious to politicians that it's developing political, ecological citizenship, politicians represent us. When they make arguments to us that we buy those arguments, when they are anti-nature conservation, we are giving them the wrong kind of agency. So if politicians know that they will not be elected because they don't support the environment, they would support the environment even if they don't want to. We control politicians. We just don't exercise enough civic control over them. And this can be informed as parts of grassroots organization. If you're a politician and you sit in your office and you get 100 emails about conservation issues, you're going to notice and take action. If you are a politician and you get 50 letters from constituents in your area talking about a particular conservation issue, you're going to take notice. We are not civically engaged with nature enough. It is not the politicians that are not doing the right thing. It is the population that is not giving the right influence to the politicians. I think that's something to really think about. And then the second thing is politicians make mistakes. And when they do, we push them aside. and that in itself does not re-engage the politician in a way that they can change and or reorient their stance. They become a little bit more defensive. So it is important that we become more civically engaged with environmental issues and transmit that to politicians. Politicians are very flexible. They can do anything to stay in power, and if that thing is conservation, they will do it.
That's good food for thought, I think, on this. And in terms of their civic engagement, I've heard about social connection, and I think I've heard both of you, Vandana Shiva and Matthieu Ricard, talk about the impact as well of compassion, and what room is there? And I've heard you, Vandana Shiva, talk about courageous compassion. How can that make a difference in responding to our citizens, or to get people on board?
You know, Stanley just talked about our being ecological citizens, and if we are part of One Earth family, it basically means being Earth citizens. And compassion for all our relatives flows naturally, as that does. In First Nations cultures, you just have to talk to them. It's all our relatives. The trees and the animals and the herbs are all our relatives. And if my child was going to be harmed, because I have deep love and compassion, I will come in the way of harm, even if it's putting myself at risk. This is courageous compassion. That's why my sisters 40 years ago, 45 years ago, came out and said, we're going to hug the trees of the Himalaya. You'll have to kill us before you kill the tree. That's how we protected the forests of the Himalaya. Every time seed was being patented, I had gone wherever communities needed. It could be in Leipzig in Germany, or it could be in a village in India. And I've hugged literally the seed and the farmers to say, I will throw my weight between whatever is going to cause you harm and your biodiversity and your life and your prosperity. So courageous compassion is nothing more than saying, I am there to protect biodiversity, no matter what the sacrifice.
Monsieur Ricard, vous voulez rajouter quelque chose?
Oui, juste brièvement, je crois que souvent les gens confondent l'empathie et la compassion. Quand on montre des images terribles, par exemple, dans ce qui se passe dans les abattoirs, genre, moi j'adore les animaux, je ne peux pas regarder. Et on leur dit, mais vous tombez dans la détresse empathique, c'est-à-dire l'effet que la souffrance a sur vous. Tandis que la compassion, ça donne un courage incroyable. Sur le champ de bataille, un médecin ne va pas pleurer dès qu'il voit quelqu'un de blessé, il va faire quelque chose. Et c'est intéressant qu'un travail que j'ai fait avec la neuroscientifique Tanya Singer a montré que l'empathie et la compassion sont dans des réseaux du cerveau très différents et que l'empathie finalement se traduisait par un épuisement émotionnel qui menait au burn-out, qui affecte donc beaucoup de personnel soignant dans les hôpitaux, les services sociaux, etc. Tandis que la compassion, c'est quelque chose de très constructif, c'est un aspect, un affect extrêmement positif qui renforce en fait notre potentiel et notre courage parce qu'il est orienté vers les autres et non pas sur l'impact que ça a vers soi-même. Donc je pense que d'une part, la compassion est courageuse, d'autre part, je crois que aussi des millénaires de sciences contemplatives montrent que ça peut se cultiver, qu'on a un potentiel de départ et qu'on peut l'amener à un point beaucoup plus élevé que simplement la graine que l'on a, comme toutes les capacités humaines, que c'est d'apprendre à lire, à écrire, à jouer aux échecs. Certaines qualités humaines fondamentales comme la compassion peuvent être cultivées par l'entraînement. Et c'est un des meilleurs entraînements qu'on puisse faire, c'est celui à la bienveillance, à l'amour inconditionnel et à la compassion.
Je pense que je vous laisse le mot de la fin, Matthieu Ricard. C'était parfait. Thank you so much. I think I'm pretty sure everyone would agree that we could spend the whole day with you. This was so enlightening, very moving for me personally, and I suspect for many of the participants as well. Many ideas, many stories, a lot of seeds for hope, I think, and courage. Et je voudrais vraiment vous remercier du fond du cœur, personnellement et au nom de tout le monde qui nous écoute. Ça a été un vrai cadeau de vous recevoir tous. Et je pense que vous nous avez donné de la bonne matière pour la suite. Et je veux juste vous dire qu'on a eu beaucoup de messages des participants qui ont continué à interagir là justement sur le chat. Et encore une fois, merci à vous tous. Thank you very much, each and every one of you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
T,
Yeah.
thank you.